Thank you so much for having us. My name is Tiffany Bhavnani. It's spelled wrong, but it usually is, so that's fine with me.
Sorry, I said it all wrong.
It's not you, it's everybody. It's fine. We had the pleasure of having Mr. O actually speak at our commencement 2 years ago, and it was a very memorable speech, so it's a pleasure to address you again today. I'm one of the most privileged teachers in the school district of Philadelphia, actually, because I'm a teacher for these students who are learning English as a second language, or a third or fourth or fifth. And I work at Furness High School at 3rd and Mifflin. My students are intelligent, they're creative, they're enthusiastic students whose native language just happens not to be English. We're a neighborhood school whose population includes a great deal of political refugees. We have a lot of undocumented, unaccompanied minors. We have immigrants from over 20 countries. We have many students with IEPs, which are the individualized learning plans for students that we traditionally call special ed. And the rest of them are comprised of the students that are ejected from charter schools, from Catholic schools, from other public schools, and from special admit schools, but for whom our doors are always open. English language learners account for 57% of Furness High School's population of 682 students. 57% of our students. That means, as you have seen today, and clearly you guys are on our side and we very much appreciate it, that 57% of our student population is not, these tests are not designed for them. All of their traits and their characteristics and all the richness that they bring will never be measured by those tests. And those tests don't show what we as a school can achieve and what we do. Even our principal himself was a refugee from Cambodia, and he was a former ESOL student at Furness High School, where his ESOL teacher is currently still a teacher. And our secretary was an ESOL student at our school and is our secretary now. So our population is 57%. Do you know what the population is of Central High School? 1%. They have 2,300 students, 1% ESOL. And those ESOL students that I'm about to tell you are not level 1 and level 2, many times with limited education that we have. Masterman has 0%, Kappa has 1%, Engineering and Science has 3%, Science and Leadership has 3%. And why do you think these students are not welcome at those schools and they're virtually absent? Is because English language proficiency has a profound impact on standardized testing. The elite public schools and charters do everything possible to keep or improve their test scores, which is what the indicator of school success is in Philadelphia and everywhere else. This means that ESOL students are excluded from those esteemed populations to ensure their high test scores. The widely researched and accepted facts show that it takes 5 to 7 years of English instruction to gain academic English, which is what we need for school. That is if the students were literate in their first language and they have content knowledge from their native education, which is far from the case with many of our ELLs in Philadelphia. These same students are expected to become native level proficient in English after 1, 2, or 3 years of ESOL and content area coursework in Philadelphia public schools. It is utterly inappropriate academically and is a practice that repeatedly makes these wonderful students feel deficient and defeated, despite the gains we can show on measures such as the access test, which is designed for language learners. Put yourself in the position that they are in for just a moment. You are Philadelphia legislators. You go to another country for just 1 year. It's different than anything you've ever known. You have no family with you, or maybe one sibling like many of my students. The food and water don't agree with you. You have skin problems, upset stomach. You have to choke down the lunch every day because it's something you've never seen or desired to put in your mouth before. The environment is hostile, especially when you're coming from one extreme climate and going to another. We have students that have been, since the warm weather, wearing full coats. They came from the Democratic Republic of Congo. They do not take their coats off when it's 60. You can imagine how they feel today. The environment is hostile. You're going from one climate to another, maybe from a village to a crime-ridden city. Your whole support network of friends and neighbors that you relied on before in your country now consists of strangers who shout at you when you don't understand them or respond as they expect you to. You spend 7 hours a day in classes in a foreign tongue with a different form of writing, and you don't know how to write a single word. Imagine every time anyone in your household has to communicate in this new language, it's your responsibility. The bills, the doctors, shopping, when the school calls for your younger siblings. Then, midway through your school year, you're going to be given standardized tests in language proficiency, in algebra, in biology. Do you think you, as an educated professional, literate in your first language, could pass any assessments at a high school level in your new language in 1 year? So imagine if we take all those advantages that you enjoy as a literate professional person. If we take that all away, that's what's disappeared, and then you'd be one of my students. And then when you look at the assessment test, it's going to look like that to you. And in 1 year, you're supposed to answer that question. Do you think you could do it? I doubt it. Common sense tells you that second language students don't have a fighting chance to score proficient on standardized tests developed and normed on native English-speaking test populations. But even our American-born students, and I've had the pleasure of teaching them too, some of them are not better off than our refugee students. Their English-speaking educated peers struggle to perform at a proficient level in a district with no reading specialists, no librarians, no libraries to go to, in many cases, no books. And students who live below the poverty level, where we know what that impact has by 36 months of age on their vocabulary development. English language proficiency has a profound effect on these assessments and their outcomes. The tests are not appropriate for English language learners. They do not adequately assess their progress in learning not only the English language, but also the grade level content. These assessments are not accurate measures of their true achievement. My students remain in school and continue their education despite the many academic, cultural, and economic challenges they face on a daily basis. And what do we do to them? We force them to take test after test that they're not ready for, that they're not able to succeed at, and we know it when we go in. We make them cry in frustration, and I have had kids cry, scream, yell, get up, throw tests down. We ask them to reach a proficient level on these standardized tests, knowing that our American students often aren't able to do that. And then these test scores are what has labeled my school, this one I work at now, the one I worked at before, every school I worked at, as low performing, even though they are attending really, truly one of the best ESOL programs in the state of Pennsylvania. If you were able to visit our school, and I honestly invite you to, and I'll be happy to give you a tour, or one of these guys would be proud to do that for you. You would see students of all nationalities, religions, and political persuasions with rich and varied histories collaborating as they navigate this new world together. You will see them volunteering thousands of service hours for Build On, which is in our building and does wonderful projects, including taking our ESOL students to Haiti and Mali. You will see them apply to, get accepted by, and receive scholarships at quality universities all over the state that do not require Keystone as one of their entrance considerations. You will see ESOL students working with American students in their AP classes after only being here for a few years. You will see students sharing their culture, their lives, and their academic endeavors with each other and their teachers, and you will see the true meaning of proficiency, not one judged by the Keystone, but by one judged as you would yourself as a sentient human being. You'll see those true meaning of proficiency, success, academic achievement, and social responsibility. And then you will consider us to be a high-performing school, and the students would be more than proficient, they would be advanced. The Keystone will not show you any of that. It's only going to show you how we've failed as a school, they've failed as students. We're now assessed as failures as teachers, despite gains of more than 1 year of English movement, which is more than anyone could ask for. Our students are below basic, the teachers are unsatisfactory. A test which robs our students of weeks of instructional time. In our school, for Keystone, it's 12 days of Keystone, that's not counting the benchmark tests. All at the cost of millions of dollars, fully knowing that the students will not be proficient. I know this now. I know this before I take the test. Our ESOL students are not going to be proficient. A lot of our special ed students are not going to be proficient. The students who have been ejected from the places that had the option to eject students so that they could be sent to the neighborhood schools, we know they're not even going to show up for the test, and we're still trying to get them to take the test seriously, because that burden is now on us. The cost for this year in Pennsylvania to administer the PSSA and the Keystone test is $58 million for the state. Imagine what that money could do if you were actually trying to educate the students instead of showing us what we already know. So in closing, I'm curious who I could get to come with me. And anytime someone wants to tell me how wonderful these tests are at measuring and what information it's giving a teacher, I would love to win the Powerball someday, because what I want to do is take them to Fuzhou, China. And in 1 year, I'm going to give them this question, and I'm going to ask them if they can pass that test or not. And this question's not even nearly what it looks like on the actual test. Do you think I'd have any volunteers? I don't know. So I'm sure that the Inquirer and the Notebook, though, would love to publish those scores, because they don't mind publishing our scores and telling us how much we're failing. Because it's not easy to learn this many characters by March. Thank you very much for your consideration.
I'm sorry, just real quick, Tiffany, and I loved your testimony. It was great.
Thank you.
And I live right around the corner from Furnace.
Yes.
I'm from Snyder, so I've been there several times, and it's a great school.
It is.
And understanding what goes into it and what disadvantages you have with the resources that you have. Now to put another mandate on you just seems, I don't know if people live in reality when they make up these things, but these are, they come up with these ideas of how they're going to be able to benchmark and show accountability and all these other, not really knowing the whole full picture. And you just gave a full picture of what just life is in one school. And I think that's important, and I think it's something we need to make sure that our district hears before they decide whether they're moving forward or not. Thank you.